The 49ers drafted a pair of offensive linemen in the 2024 NFL draft. Dominick Puni, third rounder out of Kansas. Jarrett Kingston, sixth rounder out of USC. How do they fit? Scouting reports. We're talking rookie draft profiles, offensive line training camp battles on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Crocky209. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We love our everydayers. We love it when you're subscribed on YouTube. Smash that subscribe button, please. We appreciate you. And, of course, everywhere you get your podcast. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now, free on the App Store or Google Play. All right, little double dip. 49ers just double dipping away at some offensive linemen in the last few drafts. There was the Spencer Burford and who was it? Jalen Moore draft, right? In 2021. Or no, Burford was 2022. Jalen Moore, wasn't there a double up draft? Now I'm blanking on.
Was it maybe Jalen Moore and Aaron Banks?
Yeah. Banks and Moore were the same draft. Then it was Spencer Burford the next year in 2022, the fourth rounder. That's right. So Banks a second rounder, Moore a fifth rounder, Burford a fourth rounder in 2022. They've got one of three there starters on the offensive line. Some battles here to be had now with the third rounder and Dominick Puni in the 2024 class, along with Jarrett Kingston, the sixth rounder. More on Kingston in a minute. Let's start with Dominick Puni, Croc, because the 49ers traded up in the third round to get him. So they clearly saw a tier break in the offensive lineman in this class. And they nabbed the guard out of Kansas. He is 6'5", 313 pounds. He ran very well at the combine. So 6'5" and an 8, 313 pounds, big 10 and 1/8 inch hands, 33 and 3/8 arm length. That's an interesting number there because it's sub 34 inches that you want for an offensive tackle, but it's not so far sub that, there aren't guys who could potentially play still NFL tackle in the NFL with a little over 33 inch arms. 30-inch vertical, he ran 5.35 in the 40-yard dash, which isn't blazing, but what is blazing, Croc, was his 4.40 short shuttle. He ran a 7.47. I'm butchering these numbers. 7.47 3-cone. So again, 5.35 40, 4.40 short shuttle. The short shuttle is the key. That's the short area quicks, the stop start. And it is such a huge indicator for interior offensive linemen and offensive linemen in general and their success in the NFL. You want to be 4.47 or below, and it's an astronomical hit rate. It's crazy how high the hit rate is in the NFL for players with a very good short shuttle. And Dominick Puni hits that mark. Now, he played left tackle at Kansas in 2023. He had played left guard the year before at Kansas, came in as a 2-year starter after transferring from Central Missouri, where he played both tackle spots at Missouri. So he's got left tackle, right tackle, left guard in his college career, but a lot of people, Crocker, penciling him into right guard in the NFL, one of the positions he has not played, or potentially center. So 2 out of the 5 he's not played are kind of what people are looking at him potentially playing early for the 49ers. Now let's get into the tape a little bit, and we'll talk more about those position battles and where he could play, Croc. The tape I saw, and it was all just from the 2023 season, was all with him at left tackle. What'd you see from the all Big 12 first team offensive lineman in Dominick Puni?
Yeah, everything I watched, it was at left tackle as well. And I think when you first cut on the film, it looked like that's not a tackle, right? And now, for me, I like to see the guys with the sexy pass sets. They got that nice kick step. They're getting back. They're working their hands. They're in position. They're walling off guys. That's just something that I like to see from tackles. You didn't quite see that from him. It was almost like he got in position to potentially block somebody. The way he moved, I feel like when the guy was near, wasn't as fluid, but you got to see that athleticism, that shuttle when he got out in space, and you could see him kind of go in and try to lock in on guys at the next level. So it was very clear that his movement skills in the sense of being able to pull were definitely there, but how would he handle speed rushers off of the edge? I thought that's something that at the next level he may get in trouble with. So I think watching the film, and obviously I went into watching the film already knowing that this is a guy that's going to play guard at the next level. I think he fits guard much more than potentially being a tackle. And NFL saw that. I think I saw that as well.
Yeah, he just something about some guys, they look like guards and some guys look a little bit more like tackles. And 6'5", 313, his arms aren't crazy short, 33 3/8. You could stick a tackle potentially, and I don't think the 49ers should necessarily close the door on him competing potentially at right tackle as a rookie or being available to play some tackle as a rookie if he can do it. But John Lynch did say that he's going to start out inside. And so that's probably the plan for Dominick Puni. Now, will that be center? He does have big hands. And, any position that is handling the football, it's nice to have big hands. Center, quarterback, receiver, whatever it is, it's helpful. And he does have those big 10-plus inch mitts to hold on to the football, even though he hasn't played center in his college career. But, he did some of that in practice and, Senior Bowl stuff and in workouts as well. So I think it's something that might be in his future is potentially at center. And so the 49ers are probably going to figure that out once they get him in the building and get him working and get him into rookie mini camps and OTAs and all that and figure things out for the plan in training camp for Dominick Puni. But a really good player. And I think I agree with you when you see the athleticism. Sometimes he looks really athletic and sometimes he looks less athletic. It's almost like he's got a limit on his athleticism. Like he can get his feet in position and get in a nice position to block. But if he has to travel a ways, that's when you start to see, maybe the athleticism isn't quite there. But a well-schooled offensive lineman. He's 24 years old, Croc, already. He's already 24 years old. So he's an older prospect, 6th-year senior. He's been in college since 2018. He started out at Central Missouri, 2018. And started games right away at right tackle as a rookie, playing with his older brothers there at Central Missouri. He did have a torn MCL his last year, 2021 at Central Missouri, and that's when he transferred. So, he only played 2 games over the course of 2 seasons because the season was canceled in 2020 due to the pandemic. Then he played 2 games and then had a torn MCL in his left knee, took a medical red shirt in 2021, and that's when he transferred to Kansas and then was honorable mention Big 10 or Big 12 left guard in 2022. So started right away at Kansas after transferring and after the MCL and, didn't show any ill signs of a torn knee there in 2023 on the tape I saw with him at left tackle. Competitive guy. He wins leverage battles. He gets out and can move around a little bit. He does have, he plays a little leggy at times, I would say. And, but he's strong, he's competitive, he's smart, he gets out on the move. And I think he's a nice fit for either outside zone or gap schemes. And the 49ers do a little bit of both now as a guard. So like the player, 3rd round pick. I don't know what the upside is necessarily, because when you talk about a guy who's already 24 years old, and if he starts out just kind of backing up guys on the interior, Croc, well then, would it have been worth, if they're going to sit anyway, drafting a different player that was, a higher upside guy who's already going to sit in the first place. So that's where I'm like, okay, is he going to truly compete? And where's that spot going to be? And if he is going to compete, it's probably not at center because you have to know the calls and everything. That'd be tough for a rookie to come in and compete right away at center. He's not going to take Trent Williams' job. He's probably not going to take Aaron Banks' job at left guard. So that leaves right guard and right tackle. And it feels like the 49ers are much more all in on Colton McKivitz than fans are at right tackle. So
I don't know if they're all in on them, but I would say that a lot of people are potentially trying to pencil Puni in at right guard. And the tough thing there is we're not talking about replacing Spencer Burford. Spencer Burford, yeah, it was rocky. It was up and down. We saw him rotate with Daniel Brunskill. But then we also saw him get his job taken away by John Feliciano. And Feliciano, during his time starting with the 49ers, graded out as one of the top 10 guards in all of the NFL. So, and then I think a lot of people are going to the Super Bowl and it's like, well, you lost the Super Bowl. Look what happened. Chris Jones coming through in the busted assignment. Well, that was Spencer Burford. That was not Feliciano. Feliciano got hurt. And Feliciano was able to test free agency. Teams were like, we're okay. The 49ers, he fits with them regardless. So if Kyle and John looked at Feliciano and said, you know what, this guy plays well, if need be, I think it's tough because I don't see anybody just anybody being able to come in and take that guard spot away from him. So did you draft this third rounder that you traded up for with the hopes of he's going to be a day one starter, or a guy that can be a swing player early on and eventually start for you down the line? Like, is this a pick for 2025 season as opposed to 2024 season?
And maybe a Daniel Brunskill style super sub. He could potentially play all 5 positions, as a backup player, as a rookie. And that would be interesting if he's allowed to play a little tackle, even though John Lynch said he'd probably start inside at guard, and he might have an opportunity to show, and you might get forced into that if there's an injury too, because the depth at tackle is much more thin right now than it is on the interior. There's all kinds of options on the interior of the offensive line. Feliciano maybe could play center though too, so that's where maybe Puni, they like him so much, they're like, well, we want to get him in there. He's going to start at right guard. Feliciano now is battling with Jake Brendel to be the starting center for the 49ers. That's one potential angle, and I wonder if Burford might get an opportunity to play some swing tackle. He was a tackle in college. Obviously the 49ers have not loved what they've seen from him at right guard. Maybe he can move out to his more natural tackle spot and provide at least some depth out there. So that'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out. Or are they just going to have 9 guards on the roster? Because that's how the roster is shaking out right now, including one more guy that they drafted in the 6th round, Croc, Jarrett Kingston. So Dominick Puni, a really good player. I think he's a sound guy. I think he should be ready to play early in his career. Where is the question and how that battle is going to shake out in training camp? Will he be allowed to play tackle? I think he could play some tackle, but I just have a better feeling of him inside in the NFL. Jarrett Kingston, I think he is for sure a guard in the NFL. Let's get to his USC tape, what the 49ers saw in the 6th round pick and how he can compete on the 49ers roster in 2024 and beyond next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by Monopoly Go. All right, game off. I know what you're saying. We got to pause here and talk more about Monopoly Go. You're saying flag on the play. You already talked about that, but there's just so much good stuff in this game. To be honest with you, I love the aspect of crushing your friends in Monopoly Go. You can heist from their vaults. You can charge them rent on all the iconic Monopoly properties. But in Monopoly Go, you can also team up with your friends for time tournaments where you work together, build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock, unique stickers you can trade, and complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces. And when it comes to Monopoly, it's all about the playing pieces, right? Always has been. Especially that's what I loved when I was playing Monopoly as a kid. But this is Monopoly that you can play like an adult with your friends. There's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers, and always something new and fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on. The second offensive lineman, another guard likely, Croc, in Jarrett Kingston out of USC, 6th round selection by the San Francisco 49ers in the 2024 NFL draft. And I got to be really honest, Croc, I was very pleasantly surprised when I put on the Jarrett Kingston tape. I saw a guy who, much like Dominick Puni, was competitive, had some nice short area movement skills, was able to get out on the move, on pulls and hit people, natural strength, and was a battler. And I think that's kind of the recipe you need, right, to compete in the NFL. You got to be tough and you got to be smart. And when you look at Jarrett Kingston, 6'4" and a quarter, 306 pounds. He threw down 32 bench press. I love this, Croc, and I couldn't wait to talk about this part of it. He put up 32 bench press reps at the combine. And at the USC Pro Day, he didn't do anything else. He didn't run again. He didn't do anything. But he said, you know what? I can do more bench press. 32 is a lot, by the way. for those folks that don't know. 32 bench press reps of 250 pounds is a lot of reps. And he said, nope, I'm going to do that again.
225.
Or 225, excuse me. Yeah, 225. And he said, nope, I'm going to do it again. He put up 36 at his pro day. So I love the competitiveness. I love him saying, I'm the strongest dude out here, and I'm going to put up 36 reps, 32s. You know, that's those aren't the kind of numbers I want out there. So I kind of like that. I like the competitiveness and knowing what his strength is, which is his strength. By the way, Anderson High, shout out Anderson, California, Northern California, just south of Redding, Shasta County, I believe. I spent a lot of time in Butte County in Chico. So, you know, I've been around the area north of Red Bluff, south of Redding. Probably a lot of agriculture going on in Anderson, California. Have not stopped there myself, but he was a discus champion at Anderson High. So, you know, the old school track strong guy, right? That's what Jarrett Kingston is. He went to Washington State at first. Again, another older prospect, 6th year senior, started school like Dominick Puni did all the way back in 2018, Croc. Redshirted there at Washington State. Played every position except for center on the offensive line during his college career. Left guard. He played left guard and left tackle at Washington State, then went to USC just for that one final season. Played right guard, and then there was an injury at right tackle, so he bounced out and played right tackle as well. So I love the versatility, love the way he would compete, and was able to go from guard to tackle when the team needed it, although I think he does play inside and he's got that 4.47 short shuttle, Croc. And in fact, his athletic profile is really nice. So 6'4" and a quarter, 306 pounds. He has shorter arms, 32 1/8, which is one of the main reasons he projects inside in the NFL. 5.02 40-yard dash at the combine, which is one of the faster times for offensive linemen. 31.5-inch vertical, 9.3 broad jump, 4.47 short shuttle, which I talked before, 4.47 and below. Like, that is the magic number for that short area movement skills in the NFL. The bench press, so natural strength, a lot of upper body power. He's got quicks in the lower body, Croc. He can get out on the move. I saw him pancaking guys when he was a pulling guard. So a lot to like, and even saw some athleticism from him when he was at tackle. So I was pleasantly surprised when I saw Jarrett Kingston's tape and thought, man, this might be a guy, athleticism, strength, toughness. He's a scrappy player, and that's what you need to stick in the NFL. He might have a chance to compete for a roster spot as a 6th-round pick.
Yeah, and when I put on film initially and I talked to you about it, I said, man, this guy's at right tackle. So he was playing tackle as opposed to guard. You're like, oh, no, go watch these games and you'll see him playing guard. He kind of split his time between tackle and guard this past season due to injury. So, you know, you watch him let's talk about him at tackle first, right? Worthy, long arms, an issue. Didn't quite see that. Saw a guy that was able to move well. They did some interesting things there on the offensive line with the way they kind of schemed up certain blocks. But from a movement skill standpoint, he was always able to get to the guy he was trying to get to and did a really good job of finishing blocks from there. You know, fast forward, watching him at the guard position, still a guy who I can envision in the 49ers offense, being able to pull, especially out in space, get to the next level, block guys, and really be a scrappy finisher. There were times where I felt like maybe he's losing balance from an anchor standpoint, and he'd be blocking the guy and then like end up behind him somehow. And you never want your offensive lineman behind. And when I say behind, you know, now the defensive lineman is in front of him, you know, closer to getting to the quarterback. To where now you're
defensive lineman between the offensive lineman and the quarterback. It's not a good place to be.
Not ideal. So I saw that pop up a few times, maybe like a few more times than I would ideally like. And I'm like, is that a strength thing? Is that a balance thing? Clearly, you see the bench press reps, you know, and you watch him out there and see the times where he's able to drive guys in the ground, pancake guys. He has the ability to be that strong finisher. Maybe just needs to work to be a little bit more consistent at it at the next level. But, you know, for Kyle, I don't think he cares if a guy is this big mauler, right? I don't think he thinks that, oh, these guys have to be super strong and really kind of reset the offensive line, but just can you play in unison with the rest of the offensive line? Can you move to maybe wall off guys out in space? And when you watch Jarrett Kingston, like those are the things where I feel like he definitely can excel at in the 49ers offense. So, you know, now again, we're talking about potentially starting Feliciano, Puni. What about Jarrett Kingston? And this was a guy who some of these, you know, the bigger draft analysts had ranked higher, much higher than where he went, which was in the 6th round for the 49ers.
And one of the incomplete things we don't have, Croc, is just knowing like how smart these guys are. And, they get reports about Puni's a, smart guy, tough guy, and all that stuff. And so maybe one of these guys, I have a feeling one of these guys is going to play center. And I think they both have the athleticism, both have the ability to potentially play center. And who knows, maybe it is Jarrett Kingston that gets the call to potentially do that at the next level. And, but I think he can stick, Croc. I think Jarrett Kingston can stick and can compete. And I like the natural strength. Yeah, it's hard sometimes to tell with offensive linemen. Sometimes you can really see if a guy's like, oh, this guy's got skinny ankles or he's really top heavy. I feel like maybe Kingston's one of those guys who's naturally strong, but maybe a little bit narrow in the lower half. And you talked about balance issues. I think he's a strong guy up top and a quick guy down low. I feel like that's kind of what his body type is. With Puni, I think it's a little bit more weight in the middle of his body, which is why he kind of looks like a guard. And you can kind of see that in their play styles. But what I like from Kingston is times where he's trying to root a guy out and, he's kind of locked on and they are even with the line of scrimmage, right? Their chests are even with the line of scrimmage and he's got the power to turn the guy and wall him off and create that running lane. And it's just natural, strength and hand strength and upper body strength. I like seeing that. And then you mix that power with ability to get out on the move and his athleticism, which he tested great. You see it on tape. I'm all in, man. That I wonder if he was one of their, because he was drafted, 6th round, 211, 200 and something, because John Lynch said they only had 170 guys that were draftable grades. I feel like he's had to be one of the guys that had a draftable grade because he looks like a draftable player to me. And he looks like a player that could compete and stick for the 49ers, Croc. More on Puni.
Real quick, pick 215.
215, okay. So second to last pick for the Niners in this draft, 6th rounder. I want to talk more about the depth chart here, how these guys fit in and what this roster battle is going to look like, both good and bad for the 49ers in camp next. This episode of Locked Up 49ers brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL playoffs, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's right, $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, playoff hockey, playoff basketball, player props, tons more. You don't want to bet on hockey. You don't want to bet on the NBA. You can bet on Major League Baseball all summer long. How about those NFL futures? Offensive and defensive rookies of the year, and of course, the betting favorites for winning the next Super Bowl, your San Francisco 49ers. Find all those NFL bets as well. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Okay, we got Dominick Puni and Jarrett Kingston added to the mix. Both guys, I'm guessing, going to start inside somewhere. Does somebody start training at center right away? They both start out at guard. We get a left guard, right guard situation. Does Puni get a chance to compete at tackle? I don't know, because here's what the 49ers have. And right now, I only see 3 tackles even potentially having an opportunity to make the roster, Croc. It's the same guys as last year. It's Trent Williams, it's Colton McKivitz, and it's Jalen Moore. And, has Jalen Moore shown enough to fight off someone like Dominick Puni if the 49ers say, well, this rookie's actually pretty good. We like him as a swing tackle? Or what about Spencer Burford? They say, okay, Spencer Burford, you lost the guard job. Puni's going to battle Feliciano inside now. We got Jarrett Kingston in here now to go with all these other guys. So guess what? We're going to have an opportunity to see what you can do at tackle. Maybe you're more comfortable out there. And if I'm not mistaken, maybe I'll look up in a second. I think Spencer Burford had like 34-inch arms and had a profile where you thought he might have been able to start at tackle in the NFL, and they put him at guard right away. Maybe he battles with Moore for a swing tackle spot, and only one of those guys makes the team or something like that. But
do we know why they just automatically made Spencer Burford a tackle?
Pretty much everybody just goes straight to guard, Croc, if they're not a first-round pick in the NFL. That's kind of one of the things that's where I did have an issue with the 49ers draft. And that's why we were like, don't let the Chiefs trade up and draft Sua Mataia. This is your chance to get an offensive tackle. These are hard things to find. Very few guys have the traits that walk around on this earth to be a starting offensive tackle in the NFL. This is one of those guys, which is why he was my guy for the 49ers at pick 63 before they traded down one spot with the Chiefs. And And if the right guy wasn't there in the first round, that's okay. You hold your water. And in the second round, maybe the guy was there. So maybe they just didn't like the way he played. They didn't like his personality. He's not a gold helmet guy or whatever. So, you don't draft that player there in the second round. So be it, you go up in the third round, you draft Dominick Puni. But it's just Jarrett Kingston's the perfect example. And you look through the draft, there's a lot of really good interior centers, guards available in the draft in later rounds. Tackle is hard to find. And if you don't draft it in the first or second round this year, well, okay, maybe next year. How many years are you just going to keep going? Like, well, no tackle this time. Nope, no tackle this time. Sorry. So then you got all guards, right? And so that's kind of where the 49ers are right now. They got a whole bunch of guards, and you better hope that the guys you do have starting are healthy on the left side and good and healthy on the right side. And so that's where the 49ers are. And that's the one thing I worry about. Niners didn't have any first round picks because of the Lance trade. Didn't have a second round pick either because of the McCaffrey trade. So that's where you find offensive tackles in the NFL draft, or you overpay for them in free agency. And you guys pay $20 million a year for somebody else's Mike McGlinchey to bring him in next offseason, if that's the way you have to go. So that's why I didn't love the strategy there in the second round to bypass someone like Kingsley Suamataia, who I thought, obviously needed a little bit of coaching. But again, Puni might not start either as a rookie. Maybe maybe Renardo Green doesn't start at corner. It's like, okay, well, if he's more of a project, these guys aren't going to start anyway either as rookies. So coach the guy up, and maybe you have a starting offensive tackle. But that said, those are the three tackles the 49ers have. They have
real quick, is that a little light to go into like your offseason programs with only 3 tackles?
Somebody else has to be able to, even if it's an emergency, be able to play tackle. Or the 49ers, they also have Brandon Parker that they signed in free agency. I don't know if he's a threat.
But you don't foresee him making the squad, right? So you're saying 3 guys that it's like, oh, these would be the 3 tackles, same as last season.
It would seem that would project that way. Who was the guy the 49ers had last year on a 1-year deal? Blanking on his name. Big old guy. He basically played in the preseason, and then I didn't see him a lot during the season. Blanking on his name. But they signed him like they did Feliciano, 1-year deal last year. Brandon Parker might be somebody who could compete. Let me see. I'm looking up what his contract is with the 49ers. I'm pretty sure it's a 1-year deal. I don't know how much it is. 1 year, $1 million, basically. So, I'm sorry. No, that was his deal the year before. Just a 1-year deal. Yeah. I don't know. I don't see. No. Sorry. I hate doing this live, looking it up. I'm trying to find this information. Everything I'm seeing is just 1-year contract. So I don't know exactly what that dollar amount is, but, here we go. 1 year, $1.5 million. So that's none of it guaranteed. It doesn't look like. So yeah, he's someone that could be cut, and he's someone to compete and give you extra bodies at offensive tackle, basically. And they've got some other guys on futures contracts. They've got Isaac Alarcon. He's been around for a while, I think, on the practice squad. And then Sebastian Gutierrez as well. But so those are the camp players, probably really 4 realistic bodies, but a ton of guards here. Aaron Banks, Spencer Burford, Dominick Puni, John Feliciano, Jarrett Kingston, Nick Zakelj, Ben Barch. So that's 7 guards. They picked up Drake Nugent as an undrafted center. They got Briason Mays, who I believe is a center also in undrafted free agency. Corey Luciano, Jake Brendel are the guys that are probably likely to take snaps first. And maybe these other guards will have an opportunity to work in there and play a little center as well. So a lot of interior guys, but kind of thin on the tackles, Croc. But that's the plan right now. And Dominick Puni is going to make the roster. Kingston is the interesting one because I think I like the college tape better. And if I had to project what I've seen from Nick Zakelj in his couple of years with the 49ers as a former 6th rounder himself, I would think that Jarrett Kingston's got a good shot to beat out Nick Zakelj for a roster spot. Spencer Burford's now your 3rd string right guard. What utility does he have for your roster? Is he just a backup left guard now? Is he can he possibly play some swing tackle? So that's up for debate now with Spencer Burford and how he's going to compete for a job. But they don't break camp with this many bodies, and you have to have at least 3 and a 4th guy probably that can play tackle. So it's going to be an all-out battle with these guard spots, and might only be 1 center that actually makes the team.
That seems a little thin to me, especially on a team where you don't feel like tackle is your strongest position. Obviously, outside of Trent Williams, who you've said he's going to miss a game or two. So if he goes down for that game or two that you just know he's going to miss, then you just have nobody else that you feel. You're fine with McKivitz. Like, okay, you're okay. But man, you're just okay with him. It's like, oh, we can make do with him. Can you make do with more if anything happens and there's nobody to even compete with a Moore or McKivitz? That's the part that's, a little interesting, or whatever their strategy is for the tackle position.
It's driving me crazy. I got to figure out Matt Pryor. That's what I was trying to think of. Pryor was 6'7" last year, is kind of that backup role. So I guess it's not far off from where they were last year, basically, where they had 2 starters, 2 backups at offensive tackle. If Brandon Parker is basically the Matt Pryor role this offseason. And then they'll really have to battle it out. Jason Poe, by the way, is not listed. Is he gone? That was my guy. I don't remember him getting cut from the practice squad, but I guess you have to sign him back. Is that how it works with the practice squad? And he's not listed currently on this roster I'm looking at. Unless he's down here.
Let's see if he's listed. Let's see if he's listed on any roster.
My guy, he should have taken some snaps at center, man. Oh, you know what? We got the question yesterday, Croc, about who's going to replace Kyle Juszczyk. Jason Poe would have been a good answer for that as well. Man, I guess Poe.
Oh, he's on Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Jason Poe's gone. So some of these guys are going to make the practice squad. Mays, Nugent, most likely would have an opportunity to be on the practice squad. Luciano, if Kingston doesn't make it, they'll probably try to put him on the practice squad. Zakel as well. But that still leaves you with, 10 other guys that are battling for roster spots, even if you talk about 3 or 4 of these guys making the practice squad on the interior of the offensive line. So it's going to be a heck of a battle on the interior, especially there's nobody to battle at tackle. So we know what the tackle is going to be. Pretty sure Jake Brindle's got center squared away, but I could see an opportunity for Feliciano to move inside to center with one of the other younger players winning a job at right guard potentially.
I don't think they want a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah, it's going to be the same starting 5 as last year, Croc. That's pretty much what it's going to be. In that training camp battle is going to be all about the depth.
And I think if let's say somebody wins a spot, it'll be like a 1-for-1 switch. Like, so it might be Puni or Feliciano. I don't think you'll see oh, Feliciano, we're going to move you here. Then Brindle, you're going to move here. Then Puni. Like, I don't think you'll see that much movement with the guys.
Maybe a late camp trade too. Like Adam Peters is like, hey, I was part of the team that drafted Spencer Burford. We could use some depth over here. Well, here's a 6th round pick or a 7th round pick or something. Give Spencer Burford. See something like that happen as well to open up a spot if everyone's healthy at the end of training camp. So I do like those draft picks. I think they're 2 players that can stick for the 49ers. They did not add an offensive tackle. I didn't think they should have forced it, Croc, which is something I want to repeat because a lot of people are like, you drafted a wide receiver and not a tackle. Well, the tackle wasn't really there. I would have gone a different position anyway if I didn't go wide receiver in round 1. It was round 2 passing on the tackle is where we're going to look back on this thing and say, okay, did the Kansas City Chiefs that are in the middle of a dynasty get a starting tackle, and the Niners allowed them to do that, and they still can figure out tackle long term and potentially an upgrade short term.
It felt like the value was there at that pick as opposed to 31.
Absolutely, no doubt, right? So anyway, if they found themselves a couple of really good players, and who knows, like I think that I think potentially either one of these players could start for the 49ers, not necessarily as rookies, but at some point. I like what I've seen on tape from both these guys. Competitive. They look like they're smart players. I don't know them personally. I don't know, I haven't seen them on the whiteboard or anything, but they have the athletic ability. They have the strength. They have the play style, the demeanor, and the ability to fit in the 49ers scheme at guard. I like it. Niners are borderline stacked on the interior now, Croc. So it's going to be a good camp battle. Can't wait to see it. More on the 49ers rookie class, more on training camp battles all summer long as we get ready for the 2024 NFL season. You're going to want to stay right here with Croc and I. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. Winky Wednesday tomorrow, right here, Locked On 49ers.